Hello there. Today I have a point to make about reciprocal relationships with food. I want to demonstrate this point by examining two cornfields. This first field is a field of Six Nations white corn grown out on Six Nations. This second field is some Monsanto variety grown out in the county. Visually, these two fields are nearly identical. In terms of input from the farmer, they're again nearly identical. They've both been planted with tractors, plowed with tractors. They've both been fertilized with modern chemical fertilizers. The only difference is one of them's had pesticides applied, the other hasn't. However, there's a bigger, more important difference between these two fields that we don't get to see, that difference being the relationships involved. The white corn field is an ongoing ecosystem. It is a community. This field contains a massive amount of genetic diversity. The corn plants are related to each other or unrelated to each other in a variety of unpredictable ways. The corn is left to open air pollinate. After it's harvested, the bin of corn will be gone through by hand and the best corn cobs will be picked out and saved for the next generation. This combination of natural and unnatural selection allows the corn to change generation from generation and adapt automatically and fairly quickly to changing conditions. This cornfield is a community which has ongoing relationships with each other as well as with the farmer. This cornfield is unique to all other cornfields in both of those relationships. This means that this cornfield will be genetically distinct from any other given cornfield grown using the same techniques. Technically speaking, this variety is known as Tuscarora white. I refer to it as Six Nations white corn because this field is 240 years removed from Tuscarora. The corn grown there versus here might have started in the same place, but they've had 240 years to diverge in a variety of ways, some of which we don't get to see. Until about 100 years ago, this was how all cornfields functioned. Every farmer having their own special varieties of corn and having their own special relationships with that corn. The Monsanto field, by contrast, has extremely low genetic diversity. It has been specifically engineered to have as little genetic diversity as possible. This corn comes from multiple generations of forced self-pollination. This has resulted in corn which is inbred to the point of basically being clones. This corn is then hybridized with another similarly inbred variety which shares similar physical characteristics, and then planted into the field you see here. This field is not a community. These plants are not related to each other in a variety of diverse ways. They're all related to one another in a very specific way. They all share the same two great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. That is, while your average person has about 250 some ancestors at that number of generations, this corn has two. This corn also does not represent an ongoing relationship of any kind. Every piece of corn in this field is a genetic dead end. It will not be saved for seed because it's a hybrid between two varieties, and that means that it will not be the same as its parent. Every piece of this corn will be ground up into meal or ground up into oil or fed to cows or whatever. It will not be planted, its line ends here. The farmer has no relationship to this corn and it has no relationship to him. He'll simply buy new seed from Monsanto next year. The reason for this is that genetic diversity means that your product is always changing, and if your product is always changing, then it's unpredictable. Unpredictability does not appeal to modernity. Let's return to the white cornfield to give an example of what I mean. Because each of these corn plants are genetically different entities, they have different resistances and susceptibilities to the various hazards that they will face. Some of them will be resistant to blight, some of them will be resistant to fungus, some of them will be resistant to caterpillars, and some of them will be resistant to all three. However, because of that genetic diversity, there will also be some which are susceptible to any of the hazards. Let's say for convenience sake that in any given year, about 10% of the total crop will be completely unusable because of disease or fungus or bugs. Because at the end of the year the corn is sorted by hand anyway, the farmer can simply pick out any corn that's defective and throw it away. It isn't an issue. You're already sorting the corn anyway to find which ones you're saving for next year. You just have 3 bins instead of 1, okay? This one's for seed, this one's for eating, and this one's for compost. The Monsanto field, because of the mechanization and depersonalization of modern industrial agriculture, does not have the same option. Because the crop isn't being sorted by hand, the failure of a small percentage of the crop can lead to a much larger percentage of the crop having to be thrown out. This is where the lack of genetic diversity comes into play. Because each of these corn plants are genetically almost identical to one another, they're susceptible and resistant against the same things. They can be specifically engineered to resist all of the local threats. The problem is that if something new comes in that they weren't specifically designed to handle, the whole of the crop will be lost, as they have the same vulnerabilities. With the white cornfield, on the other hand, while you will always lose some percentage of it, you will never lose all of it on account of that genetic diversity. This process of losing some portion of the crop causes the white corn to automatically adapt itself to new threats, the natural and the unnatural selection working together that I spoke of earlier.